Hey listeners, it's Kara, your host. After 176 amazing episodes and hundreds of book recommendations, I wanted to make it a little bit easier for you to find your next great read. The Bookish Lights Roadmap is your guide to all 175 podcast episodes, sorted by genre so you can quickly find the stories that fit your reading mood. From picture books to adult novels and everything in between, it's the perfect way to explore past episodes and discover new favorites. You can find your copy of the Bookish Lights Roadmap at www.bookishlights.com/read/roadmap, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm Kara Infante, and this is Bookish Flights. In each episode, I chat with one bookish guest as we take some time to sample and savor the pairing recommendations from their bookish flight. We hope to give you suggestions to cultivate your TBR list and nurture your leisure time through books. In today's episode, I am chatting with Sami Young. Sami is a mom, a wife, a PE teacher, and an avid reader. She is usually stuck between one more chapter and not being able to choose what to read next. She is a proud millennial with a TBR list taller than her houseplants. You might remember her and her son from back in episode 63 when her son brought a few books that he loved in the form of a book flight. Welcome to the show, Sami.
Hi, thank you.
Yes, I am so glad to have you. Listeners, Sami actually won the giveaway that we were doing. I can't even remember what milestone it was for, but it was to finish out maybe season 3, was to cap it out.
I don't even remember because when I got the email that said I won, I was so excited. I didn't even remember what I had won.
I know I gave away, it was like, let's do the last interview of the year will be a listener. And maybe it was just that. I'm like, what was the giveaway for? I couldn't tell you because that was like 2 months ago or so at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I just love winning things. So that was excitement enough.
Yeah. Are you a lucky person? Because I don't feel like I win stuff that often.
No, my mom wins at everything she does. I keep telling her she needs to play like the lottery so that she can win something like really exciting. But I am not a winner.
Yeah. How many Goodreads giveaways have I? I mean, I don't much anymore, but for years I would put in for like the Goodreads giveaways and I never won a single book.
I probably at least once a month enter a Goodreads giveaway for the last year and I have won nothing.
Yeah. I was like, and they still come to my email. Like I'll still get, one of the books is on your shelf, right? It is in a giveaway.
Yes.
That I don't really enter them much anymore because I've just been discouraged. But so crazily enough, I had a guest on, Casey Curtis, and her book was about the Oregon Trail. But anyways, she was telling me she offered 2 books for the listeners as giveaways as well. But she goes, I'm going to send them out, but don't worry, I have to send all the Goodreads giveaways out first, which I didn't realize the author. I don't know why I thought Goodreads would send a book, but now I'm like, that doesn't make any sense that Goodreads would send the book out for the author. But she had to do all the legwork for the giveaway.
Okay. Well, that's when they say there's like 100 books available, then that author is doing a lot of work.
Exactly. So it made me just be like, wow. But it makes so much sense. I'm sure she put in like how many books she was ready to give away and then Goodreads advertises it, but that's the only thing they do.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a whole new appreciation for those giveaways.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, I feel like we're so much more than our bios. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
I feel like that does kind of sum it up.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of extras. I'm kind of boring.
Life is just way too busy, I think, right? Outside of everything you do in this list. So,
yes.
Yeah. I admire you so much because listeners, Sami and I actually met here in San Diego and our kids were in swim class together. And so we met and we were both always carrying a book, I believe, right?
Yeah.
To swim class. Doesn't always mean we would pick it up, right? I feel like it's a very optimistic endeavor when you bring a book to swim or to any type of sports practice. But we became friends and our sons became friends. They were the same age and in the same class. And we hung out very little as you were getting ready to leave and move back. So,
Yes.
but I always admired you because your son Jarek is such a big reader. Has he always been like that, or did you encourage that? How did you make that
Um,
happen?
yeah, he actually did it on his own, like most things. I feel like I can't take a lot of credit. He when he was little, of course, we read to him every night and he'd
Yeah.
pick books from the shelf. And then as he got older, he started to want to read them on his own. And he's just always been into books. And he started pretty well, like right before kindergarten, he started learning to read. And
Wow.
he was head first, like all the way in. And he started chapter books by first grade and has just taken off. I think the last test he did, his reading levels at college level, and
Wow.
he's in fifth grade. So, and
Wow.
that's how it's always been. I think first grade was up into ninth grade. And the test, I thought, okay, yeah, he can read the words, but when I worked at the school, I realized they have to be able to understand what they read
Yeah.
in these tests. So
Yeah,
it's
the
like,
comprehension piece.
yeah, I'm like, that's crazy. I don't even know that I am at that level, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm going back now and rereading classics or books that I had to read in high school because I didn't understand it back in high school
Yeah.
when I was reading it. And it was for assignment, right? Which I feel like you read very differently when you're reading for assignment versus for leisure.
Yes.
And I've really enjoyed this journey. I've probably been doing it the past 3 or 4 years, maybe. And I don't do it all the time, but like twice a year, I'll pick up a book that we had to read in high school. And I think I get so much more out of it because my comprehension is just better than it was when I was 14, or like your son
Yes.
who's 10, right? Like that's
Yes.
impressive.
Yep. Yeah, he right now he's doing a historical fiction book report,
Okay.
and the teacher had a bunch of books that she was giving, and he had gotten like a something pioneer. I don't even remember what it was called, and he brought it home and he kept trying to start it, and I like he wasn't reading, and he is a big reader. So I asked him, like, are you not interested in this book? And he said, no, I'm looking for something else. And so I went on, and he really likes Alan Gratz as the
Yes.
author.
Yeah.
And he has read through all, there's like 9/11, there's different, I think there Pearl Harbor, some heavy topics for
Yeah.
especially being 10, but he loves them. And so I found him another, not Alan Gratz, but another book for him to read. And the teacher said, well, if you're okay with him reading that, but that's a pretty heavy subject. And I was like, yeah, I agree with that, but he's all in.
Yeah.
So
Alan Gratz was actually recommended. I feel like it was way back on episode 6. I'm going to send it to you and I'll include it in the show notes, listeners. But she is a reading specialist, is her job. And so she came on, she actually did a book flight for boys. And then she was so knowledgeable that I had her back on and she did a book flight for girls as well. But Alan Gratz was one of them. And so I wonder if maybe the other authors she had recommended, maybe those would
yeah,
be a good fit too. So I'll send them your
yeah.
way.
I do remember the reading specialist episode.
Yeah, I was like, I've had a few, like, and actually the Kristen Hanna episode we were talking about, that friend is now a reading specialist too, and
Oh,
just the world of
so
books is
cool.
beautiful. So, how in your busyness of all the things that you do, how do you find time to read?
Like you said, I bring a book everywhere. Um, I bring it in the car, I bring it in my work bag, I bring it wherever I am. And I honestly, I don't get a lot of time in those moments. I think, oh, I have half an hour break here, or I'm going to be in a waiting room. I will take it out there.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I do that is actually very little, but I have it just in case.
Yeah, it's an emotional support book.
Yes. And then by the end, I'm like, wow, this book is getting kind of tattered from being in all of these bags and pockets and all the things. But the time that I actually get to read is at night and early in the morning. So I typically wake up and exercise. And then if there's time in between that and going to school, that is when I read. Some mornings I choose only reading and not exercise.
Yeah.
And at night is my all the time reading time.
Yeah. Can you make it through more than like 5 pages? Because sometimes I've like been, okay, I'll sit up in bed and that'll help, right? I'm not laying down. And then I'll find like my head is drooped on my shoulder. And I'm like, well, that didn't work either.
Yes. So now that school is back in session for the fall, I am finding that I'm reading like one chapter, if it's a
Yeah.
short chapter, or maybe half a chapter before my eyes are closing on
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
So it sounds nice, but
Yeah. How about when you're exercising? Do you do audiobooks at all, or are you?
I struggle with audiobooks because I'm super visual. So
Okay.
for me, reading it is, I get way more out of it. Like, even
Yeah.
though just seeing the words for some reason helps me understand it more. Listening, I can get bits and pieces out of it, but I like to see it, and I get it better that way.
Yeah. You and I were on that book club call together when Holly recommended about kind of doing a bit of reading the first couple of chapters and then jumping into the audio and then
Yes.
kind of maybe going back and forth. And I have found myself doing a bit more of that because it allows me to actually get through the books. And I'm not going to say faster because I'm not like, it's not meaning like I just need to get through the book fast, right? Because there's something to be said, I think, about slowing down and enjoying it too. But it allows me to get through the book. Let's say that. Where sometimes
Yeah.
it might sit on my nightstand because I do fall asleep, but I've been trying that and I've found that it has really worked because I've established the characters a bit in my mind after I've read a few chapters. So then when I jump in with audio, maybe at whatever, chapter 10 or 6, wherever I'm at, it's it's easier to jump into the storyline because I already know who they are a bit.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I had listened to Atomic Habits on
Yeah.
audiobook as my son was at baseball practice. And we have the real book at home. And so I was able to like go through there and find parts that I wanted to maybe take notes on or save for something. And so I sort of did it in that way. But that I did like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have found that where I before would always just stick to maybe lighter genres in audiobooks. And then that way I didn't really feel like I needed to be as immersed, like a rom-com, right? Like something, a
Yeah.
light romp of a story. Um, I have found that it worked pretty well. And I was like, okay, I think I might keep doing this. And actually, the book I'm reading right now is a massive, thick fantasy book. It's probably 700 pages. And I'm on the second book of the duology, and neither of them were made into an audiobook. And in my mind, this was a really popular series. And so I'm like, how in the world were these books never made in an audiobook? But
Yeah.
it took me a while to get through the first one, but I did really enjoy it, which is why I then got the second one. But yeah.
Well, maybe it is now your calling to audiobook those.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what, how I'm just beyond it, like flabbergasted me. Let's use that word that I'm like, how is this not an audiobook? Like,
Yeah, I think when they are that big too, it is a little bit like daunting to read it. I just read a thick book, and it took me longer to read, not because it was longer, but because I don't know, it was like this book is so big, it's going to take forever. Let's just wait.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you need to have the right time, right? You need to know you're in the right headspace and the right time to go tackle a book that is a bit more of a doorstep.
Yes.
Although
That's a
it
good way to
reads
put that.
super fast, right? Like it's
Yeah.
the series I'm reading is The Six of Crows by
Okay.
Lee Bardugo, and it's a YA. I don't know if it's urban fantasy, but it's definitely a fantasy. And it was a page turner for sure, but I'm like,
Mm.
I want to rip roar this through a little bit more than I can when I'm reading it on the page. And I feel like an audio would be a great addition, but it's not there.
Yes. Not yet.
Not yet. And I feel like and then I'm looking, I'm like, this came out a while ago. Like this, if this was going to be an audiobook, it would have came out. But oh well.
True. With it.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, well, how, like when you're reading, do you stick to one book at a time or do you have multiple going at once? Or, I'm thinking of your bio here where you're like, you've got one more chapter and choosing your next read and, all over the place with it.
Yeah. There was a time where I was reading more of like self-help type book and a fiction book
Yeah.
at the same time because they were so different. It was easy to do that. I
Yeah.
wasn't blending characters or anything because one, I'm thinking of myself and how to improve.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like, has nothing to do with me or my life. So it was easy to read both at the same time. I haven't read a lot of those kind of books recently. I'm mostly reading fiction right now. So I can't.
Yeah.
My brain would be, I can't jump around like that because I would be too confused. I would start blending the stories and I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So one and done. There it is.
Yes. So with the TBR list is also difficult for me because I have all of these books and I know that these are always in memes and stuff, but I have all these books and then you go to the store and you just keep buying more. And like, why do we do that? I have all these books at home that I bought because I
Yeah.
want to read, but what if I read this one that I had no idea even existed first?
Yeah. Well, and then I feel like the new book that comes in seems like bright shiny object, right? And then I just like
Yeah.
I'm distracted of like, well, I really want to go jump in that story, and I think it's because it's then fresh on our mind, right? Like we bought it because we want to know about that story, full well knowing we have shelves of books at home
Yes.
to read, but it's not as, top of mind as when you just
Yeah.
buy it.
And that's my mom gives me a lot of books. So she'll get books from a friend. The friend will read them, she'll read them, and then if she likes them enough, she'll pass them on to me.
Yeah.
And when she does that, sometimes I jump on it right away. Usually I'm in the middle of another book. So I either finish that and then start on that, or if it's in the same genre that I'm currently reading, I take a break. I don't like reading the same genre
Yeah.
back to back.
Yeah.
So
Got to cleanse the palate a little bit. I
yeah.
just was thinking of something else. You have a little free library now, don't you?
Well, yes, but it's not out yet.
Oh, okay.
So actually in San Diego is where I had seen them before, but in San Diego, they're all over the
Yeah.
place. And I thought that was the coolest thing. I know the school had one, and there was all over in our neighborhood. And I got some great books from them. And I liked people would post on the community page, like, oh, just added these books. And I'd run there
Oh, that's
and I would
fun.
miss them.
Yeah.
But uh, I loved that. And so I thought, I'm going to make one of those one day. And by me, I mean my husband,
Yeah.
because I am not going to make one of those. And so that was almost 3 years ago, well, 2-ish years ago now. And I hadn't made one. So this summer, that was on my summer bucket list. And he got it done for me. And then I thought, well, now I need to decide how I'm going to paint this. And they have just the plain ones, which are great.
Okay.
But I wanted mine to be like that somebody would be like, oh, have you seen this little library? It's extra cool, or I
Yeah.
don't know, something. So I thought on it and then I found something I wanted to paint. That took like a week to get it all done. So now it is done, but it is sitting in my dining room
Oh,
because now we have rain every day and
yeah.
we're in the Washington. So
Yeah. I was just thinking as you were like saying, even in the initial part, I'm like, could you do some sort of like shingle on top or something to protect it
yeah,
from the rain? Like,
yes. So it is still waiting that part too. So I say
yeah.
done kind of loosely. It is painted. It is, I had to spray it with some like waterproofing
Yeah.
stuff because being as indecisive as I am, I made it all in chalk paint
Mm.
and chalk markers because I thought if I do this, my vision may not come to life and then I'm going to be upset and I want to erase it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was all done in a way that I could get rid of it if I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I finished and I love it. And so then I had to buy like a special spray to make it permanent. So it is done, but the roof needs some like shingles on it. And then we need to figure out how to put it in the ground.
Yeah.
And being that it is on like the main road, we don't live in a neighborhood where I could put it. I also need to make it like a little bit more permanent than just a post
Yeah.
because I think it may not live very long.
Yeah. 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 You know your climate, you know your
Yeah.
environment, right? And what you need.
Yes.
That's like where I would love to have one too, but we don't have the right setup like at our house
Yeah.
that we live at. And I'm like, and being in a transient lifestyle, I'm like, just hold on, just wait until you move somewhere that's more permanent.
I actually just saw something super cool and we just got a camper this summer. And so we have been trying out different campsites and having so much fun with that. I saw a video where somebody has like a little free library that they bring along with them with their camper. And so
Yeah.
every campsite they go to, they pull it out and they get to like book swap with all the people at the
How
campground.
cute.
And I want to do that.
So my my best friend, her mother-in-law she's so sweet. She follows the podcast and she's a big reader as well. They go camping at the same site quite a bit. And they have a
Okay.
little free library like within there. I'm guessing it's like a community kind of area within the campground. So she put out bookmarks when I did the little, the little free
Oh,
library bookmark
yes.
thing. She put them out at her campground because they must have a community area and there's books there and it's like a little swap, but it's just in the corner of this little community room. And it's a campground
I love
though.
it.
So even maybe where you camp might have one.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of I always bring books camping, and whether I get to reading them or not is a different story, but I would love to like, okay, I finished this book and now maybe somebody else wants it. And maybe somebody else has done the same thing. They are
Yeah.
camping and they've finished their book and
Well, I'm
we
reading a
can be
book
there
right
together.
now, and I already know what friend I'm going to send this in the mail
Yeah.
to. I'm sure you've heard me say this. Like I always send away the books because
Yes.
I don't reread, and we move too much to
Yep.
keep them all. And I told her, I talked to her yesterday on the phone. I said, I have a book I'm ready to send you. I said, but I only have 60 pages left, and I'm not taking it on my vacation because I don't want to have to like, even though we're driving, but I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with bringing it back. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to mail it to you mid vacation. So I said, I'll have to finish it when I come back in like a
Yeah.
week, right? And then I'll mail it to you. I said, but so be on the lookout for something. But I'm like, it's so funny how we're just like, I'm going to take a book I have not started. So that way I know I will have it for the whole week.
Yes. And I do that same thing. I usually will take the book that I haven't finished, but then I always bring a backup because I don't want to be without.
Yes. Yeah. It's always the conundrum of like, what is the realistic amount of books I should bring
Yes.
on a trip? And everybody's like, just bring a Kindle. I ask this all the time. And I'm like, I agree, but like, I don't always want to read on my Kindle either. So I do need to have a physical book,
Yeah.
and I'm like you kind of where I like a nonfiction and a fiction going at the same time. And yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really, it
It's all
is.
these like little problems that I think on the outside may seem silly, but if you know, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband looks at me like I have a third eye, right? And I'm like, no, like I need to have 3 books for my 1 week vacation. And I probably won't finish a single one of them, but I just need them.
Yeah. Just in case. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like shoes. You
Yeah.
bring every pair you have because you might want to wear them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you have brought 3 books with you today in the form of a book flight. Can you tell us how you
Yes.
chose these books?
Yes. So a lot of the book flights, I think, and when I think of a flight, I think of three similar things or one category that
Yeah.
they all fit into. And I knew right away that I wasn't going to do that. And that is because I like to jump genres.
Yeah.
So I thought I could pick three nonfiction or historical fiction. I could pick three rom-coms. I could pick three of anything,
Sure.
but that's not how I read. So I wanted to bring three different ones. And I even struggled because I thought, oh, maybe I could just bring four. I know four is not like done, but
We have an option.
maybe there's four.
Yeah. We have a dessert
Um,
pairing as an option for those that just absolutely cannot minimize it down to 3.
and it is hard, especially when you read all the time. There are some books I read that I wouldn't recommend, I guess, that I don't really like.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm reading a book because I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
Like I do like it. So for this, I chose what did I choose? One rom-com, one historical fiction, and one thriller. But my thriller, well, I guess I'm going to just say it because probably if you read the back, it will probably say something about this. But the other thing about reading is I don't read the backs of the books.
Yeah.
And so I jump in either by the cover or somebody has recommended it to me, but I always say, oh, don't tell me anything about it. I just
Yeah,
give me
you
the
go
book.
in blind.
And yes, so I always see those blind date with a book things the library does or the
Yeah.
bookstores sometimes do, but that is me all the time.
Yeah.
So I love to be surprised and I love just jumping in. And so my first book is The House Across the Lake.
Okay.
And that book I jumped into thinking this is a thriller. And it is a thriller, but as I read it, I typically, because I've read often, I can guess what is coming,
Yeah.
or at
It's
least
kind of
semi guess.
predictable a little bit, right?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of books, I mean, kind of are, especially, yeah, thrillers kind of are predictable. Yes. So the whole time I'm thinking, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. And then it turned sci-fi. And
Oh,
I don't read sci-fi, nothing against it. It's just it's not my first pick.
yeah.
And so for me, I thought that I knew what was going on. And then the world of sci-fi is not the same world as we are in. And so I was completely wrong. Like there was no possible way I would have ever guessed what was going on. And
Yes.
so I think I've heard a lot of people say they didn't care for the book as much because it turned sci-fi, but that was what made me like love it because I had no idea. It
Yeah.
totally surprised me.
I
So,
do love those genre mashups because I feel like when we read so much that it takes a lot for it to be something different, right? Or new and
yeah.
unique. And so I feel like when you do a genre mashup like that, it does. It totally already takes it into something that you were not expecting and it's different and it's unique. And then you're like, I loved it because it was different than everything else I've read.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I just didn't know it was even going that way just made it even better. So
Yeah.
I loved it.
Perfect. So that was The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. What's the next one you brought?
Yes. The second one I brought is we'll go with the rom-com next. That was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. When I think of rom-com, Emily Henry is immediately who comes to mind. I
Yeah.
love all of her books. Um, on Goodreads, I always rate my books, and to get 5 stars is, I don't give them out lightly.
Yeah.
I really think it through, and a 3 star means I would tell somebody they could read it, but it's just okay. A 4 star is I would tell someone I enjoyed it, so you should read it.
Yeah.
But a 5 star is like I'm telling everyone about it because I loved it.
I can't stop talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every Emily Henry book is a 5 star.
Yeah. I have a curiosity here. When do
Mhm.
you rate the book? Do you rate it immediately after you finish, or do you let it sit for a few days and see how you feel about it?
So that is a good question. I rate it as soon as I finish it, but I do often go back and change it while
Yeah.
I've like let it marinate for a little bit. Even next day, I'm like still thinking about it, going, or maybe I didn't like that book as much as I thought, or maybe I liked it more than I thought because I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
So if there was not an option to change your answer or your rating, I
Yeah.
would definitely wait. But because I can change it whenever I want to,
Yeah.
I do it right away and then we'll see.
Yeah. Because I feel like when it's evoked an emotion in me,
Hmm.
automatically rating it a higher star, but that doesn't always stay, right? So if I rate it immediately, I think it's very different than what I would rate it maybe 3 or 5 days later. And it doesn't mean it was a
Yeah.
bad book, but I've lost that feeling of the emotion that
Yeah.
made me bump it up a star. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you can really sit with the story and be like, did it really, was it really
Right.
5 or whatever I gave it?
Yes.
So I'm just wondering,
And
because I feel like that
yeah.
what I would rate it right away versus 5 days later would be different.
Yeah. And that's when I go back and look at it now from books. I really started reading when I was younger. The Harry Potter series actually really kicked it off for me as
Yeah.
I don't even know how old I was, but my mom owned a cafe and it was above a library.
Okay. How
And so,
fun.
or it was I don't know if it was a library, or it was a bookstore. I was really young. Either way, there was
Books.
books
Yeah.
downstairs. And then upstairs was a German cafe that she owned, her and her friend co-owned. Her friend was super into books and really wanted me to be into books. And
Yeah.
so she would always buy me books and bring them to me. And the Harry Potter series, I very much remember reading like in with my mom and going through it and just that like really took it off for me.
You actually
Um,
just gave me a great idea because I've been toying with what audiobook do I get for our road trip tomorrow. And I feel like the kids are finally all where we could do the first Harry Potter book.
yeah,
Okay.
especially, yeah, in book
Yeah.
form, it's, I think, age appropriate. I think the movie, we waited a little bit,
Yeah.
probably like Cruise's age is a little bit on the line because I know
Some
Voldemort can be kind of
scarier.
scary, but
Yeah.
just the way he looks. But yeah, Harry Potter was top notch. It still
Yeah.
is to me. I still love Harry
We
Potter.
have that. We've been collecting the illustrated versions. Have you seen
Yes.
those? They're
Yes.
beautiful. I have a friend that for every Marcos's birthday, she would just send him the next illustrated
Yes.
one. So, but that might be,
That's
you just solved my
yeah.
problem because it's in my mind of like, what am I going to download for our road trip? And
Yeah,
I think we're
that's a
going to do
great
Harry
one.
Potter. So I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, and it's how far of a drive is that for you guys?
So we're driving just to Fresno tomorrow. So it's like 7 hours.
Okay.
And then we're gonna stay overnight there before we drive up into Yosemite.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
that's plenty. You'll have plenty of time.
Yes. And then we obviously have to drive back. So we
Right, right.
will in the road trip we will finish it. So
Yes. As a kid, I loved reading. As I was a young teen, I also loved reading. And then through my adult years, I didn't read like at all. I know reading became like more popular semi recently, but I had friends that have been reading this whole time. And I don't know if I didn't want to slow down to sit and read
yeah.
or if I just wasn't interested. I don't know what the deal was, but the year that I went to San Diego, so 2023, I think it was, I really picked reading up again. And I started with Where the Crawdads
Oh yeah.
Sing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was where I started. And because it was the movie. And so I had all these friends that were wanting to go see the movie, and I hadn't read the book. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'm going to go back to my old days. You don't just watch a movie about a book without reading the book.
Yeah.
So I read the book and that kicked it off for me. So in San Diego, I think my goal was to read a book a week while I was there. We were there for 6 months and I did it. And I
Yeah.
was reading because my son was in school and I wasn't working. So I got to sit and read in the sunshine and it was an absolute dream.
Yeah.
I would love to do that my whole life. But that is also where I discovered book reads. And so I was starting to log the books
Yeah.
that I read. And oftentimes I was just giving stars and moving on. And the problem with that now is that's been a couple years. And so when I'm going through trying to recommend a book for someone, I feel like I almost can't even go off the ratings that I gave them back 2, 3 years ago without any other information. So now when I rate things, I always write just a little, like, not a review so much, just like a personal, like, this is why I liked it. This is why I gave it
Yeah.
this stars.
And then you can
Just so that,
remember.
yes, because as soon as I'm done reading a book, it's forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I think
think
that's what
that
happens when
that's,
we read so much.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely.
Okay. So we
So
have, yeah, go ahead.
my third book
Yeah.
is a historical fiction, and it is called The Last Year of the War, and that's by Susan Meissner. And that book was my mom's friend had read it and gave it to her, and then my mom passed it on to me. And I love historical fiction. I found that out only a couple years ago. I thought that I was going to read it and be like almost bored because history was is hard for me to grasp.
Yeah.
It's not a subject that I was ever super interested
Well, and I feel
in
like how we
school.
learned
And
it in school, it was just boring, right? It was just
it
like,
is,
here, just
yes,
learn this to know the date and the fact and like that's it. And then take a test and it's out.
exactly. And
Yeah.
you are like everything you are reading in these textbooks is just to take the test.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't keep any of that information. So I didn't know that I was into historical fiction until I started reading Kristen Hanna, and I was bawling every time and like so
Same.
into it, thinking like this is so crazy that this stuff happened and how had I never heard of this? And
Yeah.
I probably had heard of things that I just didn't remember. But that really, she opened up the door for me on that. So this book is a different perspective than I'd ever read in historical fiction so far.
Yeah.
Um, this one is like Americans so it's not in Germany. A lot of the books I've read, I have a German heritage. My mom is full German.
Okay.
So World War II is like a kind of a tough subject to read. It's one of my favorites to learn about, but I know anytime I talk with my mom about it, it's kind of a tough subject.
Yeah.
So she recommended this book, and I thought, okay, well, this has got to be probably a little bit different for her to say, I liked it and I want you to read it.
Yeah.
And it was, again, a view that I had never heard from. And so I thought I really liked it. It was two girls become friends at an internment camp. And when I think internment camp, I'm thinking like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was internment camps that people just lived at and worked, like full families.
Oh.
And so it's a dad gets taken to this internment camp, and he's been in the US for over 20 years, I think is what it said. But uh, because he was originally from Germany,
Okay.
he was then taken, and then his whole family was taken to this internment camp where they lived, went to school, had grocery stores, like a town, but it's all
An internment camp.
an internment camp. So they couldn't
Wow.
leave. But the girl, she befriends another family who is there, but they are there from Japan.
Okay.
And so they have totally different cultures, but they're both in this internment camp in Texas.
Okay.
And so it's almost like it's not lighter. I would say it's still a heavy subject. It is still sad. It is those things, but it's just not what I had thought of when I think of World War II internment camps.
Yeah.
Um, and so it goes back and forth between the girl whose name is Elise,
Okay.
and it goes from her being old and then her being young. So it goes back and forth from
Okay.
her perspective being in it, like the memory,
Yeah.
and then her being older and getting dementia and just reliving her childhood and trying to get back in connection with her friend that she met through there. And it's a really good story.
Yeah. It sounds like, I mean, again, like just not even, and I always thought like Japanese Americans were sent to the internment camps, right? Like not even realizing other cultures were sent. And I just
Yeah.
interviewed a gal this week that wrote one about even Sicilian, like Italian Americans were sent
Mm.
to internment camps. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking, like, I'm Italian and my grandmother's 98. She's still living.
Yeah.
Her parents immigrated from Italy and I've never heard of this. So I'm like, I need to go learn more about this, right? Like, just never
Yeah.
realizing, you know, just naively what you said. Like, I thought of
Yeah.
internment camps. This is not that.
Yes.
So,
And so it definitely opened up my eyes. Like every time I read a historical fiction, it opens up my eyes because I feel like I am in America, born and raised here. And there's just so much world outside of this. And especially back a long time ago, not even that long ago, actually, but
yeah.
back in those times that being a kid or not being fully in it, you don't know what's going on. And I think that's probably a bit of like privilege.
Yeah.
But I think it does help me like empathize and just realize what
Yeah.
could be, and just makes me rethink things.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was The Last Year of the War by Susan Meissner. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
bringing those books with you. How I
Yes.
love to end the show is with a speed round of questions you can answer really quick. Are you a rereader?
Yes, I do reread. And I know that that's not very common, but my son rereads also. So I can't ever get rid of books between the both of us. We reread.
Yeah, your husband's just like, oh gosh.
Yeah, more books. He got me a little bookshelf last Christmas, and he's like, you have too many books on this. Well, no, I don't.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. It's for holding all of those books.
Yeah, there's never too many books.
No.
What is one book you've read that has changed your life?
I think The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. That book was my first true historical fiction, and it was something I had never remembered, at least hearing of ever. And that book opened my eyes hugely to all kinds of things and to the world of historical fiction. And that book changed.
I love that. Where is your favorite place to read?
On my couch with a blanket and chai.
I love it. I was just talking to someone. I'm like, I haven't had a chai yet this season. It seems like I'm late.
I stopped drinking coffee almost a year ago now, and I was drinking a mushroom coffee, which is great also. But in these cold seasons, I've been turning to chai, and I feel like I can't go back now. It's so good.
Yeah, it is delicious. Well, lastly, what are you reading next?
I haven't picked out what I'm reading next.
Okay.
I am currently reading a book called Prisoner of War, and that is by Michael P. Spradlin.
Okay.
And that is the book my son is reading for his historical fiction book report.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I want to read it also so that if he is having questions or wants to talk through something, because it is a heavy subject, that we can talk about it together and I can reference what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So after this, I will be now reading a palate cleanser, and I'm thinking of The Other Woman by Sandy Jones.
Okay.
And that was a book that I picked up probably 6 months ago that I keep bringing along with me and have not opened yet.
Yeah. So it's time.
Yes.
Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. I know your time is precious and I appreciate all you've given me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today with Sami Young, including her book flight that will allow you to jump between genres with these 5-star reads. We'd love to hear what was your latest 5-star read at bookishflights.com. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Your review not only helps the show, but it also helps the podcast to reach others. Make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to make sure you will not miss an episode. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As Emma Thompson said, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them. Cheers to you, dear readers. Until next time.